Insane Ian, a high-octane thrill ride of multiplayer racing and shooting. Teams of two must cooperate in the fast-paced chaos to ensure their ultimate victory. Drivers navigate treacherous terrain, utilising fully physics-enabled vehicles to dance around and ram into their opponents. All the while, their gunner co-pilot sits on the dorsal-mounted weapon system, blasting away the opposition, charging the driver's nitro, and marking ramming targets of opportunity. To win the game, you must vie for control of the all-powerful gubbins. Picking this up will turbocharge your vehicle, arcing horrifying lightning as you go. Maintaining your grip on this device will not only increase your score, but repair your vehicle and charge your abilities. Drivers access a mighty powered ram, whilst gunners receive access to high-powered weaponry. Everything you see in this game has been designed, created, and tested in-house. From the custom-written vehicle fragment toon shader to the modified back-end physics engine. The vehicle stats, weapon damages, AI properties and map design have been iteratively tested and refined over development. With all this said, let's dive into a fragment of the insane tech packed into our game.
Insane Ian is a multiplayer game, and a fast-paced one at that. One of our challenges was to create an efficient network infrastructure to transmit vehicle movements, as well as allow for realistically simulated physics. Our approach was to synchronise the physics behaviours of our vehicles along with a true state value. That is to say, vehicle velocity and angular momentum are the properties synchronised, the rates of change, as opposed to position and rotation. Physics is inherently non-deterministic due to calculations using floating point values, player latency, and the network architecture. Though this can be mitigated using frameworks such as the lockstep model, these methods incur too much of a latency issue as all players must play at the game speed of the slowest player. Our solution is to use an authoritative master framework, but one in which each player is responsible for the physics of their own vehicle or turret. This is what a naive approach of updating transforms would look like. Notice the jittery nature of the movement. Even though translation updates are interpolated, the unreliable nature of the packet receive rate causes jitter. Furthermore, the vehicles are not fully physics enabled. This can be noticed in collisions. Cars do not rock, roll, or react quickly enough to being hit, sometimes even phasing into each other. This doesn't even take full advantage of the physics engine, as the object's velocity is artificial, and collisions have trouble being registered. In this case, the little physics that does occur takes place with great latency, as force information is transferred over the network, between players and back. The reduction in physics resolution can cause some quite unusual effects. Our system allows physics to be simulated fully locally. In the event that a vehicle is too far out of sync, they are simply corrected to the true position on the master client. The extra tolerance also allows us to slow down time locally during a collision to really show off the deformation. When you slow down time, your transmitted velocity is still preserved. Thus, from the perspective of other players, your crash is simulated locally at their own timescale and everything looks normal. While this is difficult to get across in video, our game is made reliable using a back-end CRUD-style in-game database for each match, known as the Game State Tracker. The Game State Tracker is constructed during the lobby scene, with player, bot, and team data being added, amended, and dynamically removed across the network. Further stability is achieved by having network-synchronized level loading coroutines, allowing the game to wait for all players to have fully loaded before beginning a match and constructing the driver and gunner setups. The weapons in Insane Ian are designed modularly, such that any weapon may be mounted on any turret, with all its behaviours intact. Turrets feature targeting stabilisation to prevent aim being affected by vehicle orientation. Our weapons boast two striking network optimisation features. The first is what we call tracer hit correction. When the gunner fires, targeting direction and deviation is calculated, then a hit point is established. The local client plays the firing effect immediately. Enemies in Insane Ian are moving targets, so latency could end up in a discrepancy, since the gunner's target has already moved and the hit point may not be cracked. If a moving target is hit, tracer hit correction gets a synchronized reference to the hit object, converts the hit point to its local coordinates, and then calls an RPC to play the effect on the other client's instance, thereby converting the local coordinates back to world coordinates on that client's instance of the target. The result is, if it looks like you shot someone,
You did. And if you got shot, then you also did.
The second is our rapid-fire optimization. Instead of firing each shot over a network, hit damage is batched and sent in a single RPC. The gunfire effects are simply told to simulate fully locally on each client, therefore saving a lot of network traffic. In the event of a hit, the aforementioned tracer hit correction is used. Collisions are a core feature of Insane Ian. From the ground up, we have constructed a true soft Aussie physics system to model our vehicles and their deformations in the greatest of detail. This involved modifying and rewrapping the physics engine to provide extra functionality, such as our on-collision stay method. In order to facilitate soft collisions, we create a ghost copy of each car. These ghost cars are simulated separately from the main physics and don't actually collide with anything. At the start of each physics update, the ghost car is synchronized with the real car. The real car's physics is then simulated, using the standard hard collisions. Any impulses caused by the collision are scaled down and applied to the ghost car, which subsequently has its physics simulated. Finally, the position and velocity of the real car are updated from the ghost car, causing it to partially pass through the object which it had collided with. To simulate the increasing pressure as the collision gets deeper, the impulses are scaled down the more the car intersects with the object. This means a collision where the car just touches the object will have almost no impulse, while one with a large intersection will have the full force of the collision applied. The impulses are also scaled down by the relative velocity of the vehicles, to keep them travelling at a low speed for longer, drawing out the collision and making it look more dramatic.
You've acquired the gubbins!
We didn't have access to all of the collision data needed for this using the physics components Unity provides, nor could we simulate the ghost cars in this way, so we had to create our own physics components and access the underlying physics engine directly. During a collision, the body of the car also needs to deform. The body is stored in the game engine as a complicated polyhedron. When a collision happens, we compute the plane separating the car and the object from the collision points reported by the physics engine. Then find any of the body's vertices that are on the far side of the collision plane and move them to lie on the plane. This causes the body to flatten and buckle at the point of the collision. All of these physics deformations are shown off by our smart AI camera. Sensor telemetry, similar to that of the bot drivers, is collected and fed into our specialised brain. This is a reversed engineered variant of Mechanim, Unity's state machine animator. By overriding the base class of animations with our own behaviours, a set of camera states and their transitions can be mapped out in the same interface. This allows the cameras to have a rudimentary form of memory, as well as easily allow for its behaviours to be updated and adjusted in response to testing. The result is, when you crash, the camera allows you to view the destruction in all of its mayhem. Humans are not the only people who can play Insane Ian. One of the challenges was creating competent AI drivers that did not rely on a pre-baked navigation mesh, as Unity's inbuilt NavMesh system does not allow for physics-based navigation. Another challenge was building this system alongside the player control infrastructure within the game. Bots are, in effect, scripts that imitate the actions of players by calling control methods that would ordinarily be called via key presses. They are run on the master client instance and, from the perspective of other clients, act exactly the same as players. Bots attempt to follow an interpolated path around the map, steering towards it as they veer off course. Bots react to stimuli like crash hazards by using an array of frontal sensors, not unlike real self-driving cars. These sensors are implemented using our modified PhysX raycasts, and, through the AI car scripts, can determine telemetry such as an estimated time to crash, the type of object that's ahead, and the steering required to move out of the way. Based on these values, the bots act accordingly. You can see these sensors in action when viewing the scene view with the gizmos turned on. The AI car scripts themselves have many parameters that can be tweaked. This helps us rapidly adapt the bots in response to playtests.